What's going on, guys? DeanCentral here, bringing you another Rust video. In this one, we're going to be going over some building tips, kind of the more basic stuff that everyone should know. This is more aimed towards the newer players. I know there's a lot of you guys since Rust has been on sale a lot recently. Let's get started. Let's remove the walls from this little base here, and as you can see, there are 3 tool cupboards inside. That's going to be the tip here, having multiple tool cupboards in your base, because as a raider, once he gets access to the bottom tool cupboard, he's going to be able to build all the way onto the roof and get to the loot probably a bit easier. But if you have multiple tool cupboards, eventually once he jumps up into the radius of the second one, he is going to in fact be building blocked. That's going to prevent him from going up any higher into the base. All you're going to want to do to have multiple tool cupboards is start with the tool cupboard at the very top of your base and work your way down. That way they don't interfere with each other. And that's pretty much it for that one. The next tip, believe it or not, I see it done all the time. Make sure you guys aren't building on steep hills or slopes like this, because the tool cupboard inside of your base is only going to go down a certain amount. A raider can stand below that radius and build themselves a stairway to go all the way up the side of your base. The building radius is only going to go down to about the line here. As long as the person is standing below that line, they can build whatever they want. So make sure your tool cupboard is always as low to the ground as possible, and you aim for a more flat area versus something like this. The next tip is also something I see done a lot, building windows on the first and second floor of your base. This is never a good idea, honestly. You're just asking for trouble. You'll always find people camping in front of those windows waiting for the perfect opportunity to take a shot on you and grab your loot, and you definitely don't want that. People just waiting in your window all the time. It's best to just keep the first 2 floors sealed up completely. That way people can't pull an easy cheap shot on you when you're least expecting it. Another reason why they're so bad is because you're offering a cheaper alternative of getting into your base for raiders. It's a lot cheaper to take out a window frame than it is an entire wall or door, so you definitely don't want that. One more very important thing is make sure all of the floors in your entire base are not stone or wood. Make sure you always upgrade them to metal as soon as you possibly can. As you could see in the past 2 clips, the raider did use deployable items such as a furnace to boost up to the next floor. I really recommend you not to put any deployable items below the loot room. You should try to always put any furnaces, repair tables, research tables, anything like that on the floor with your loot or above it. Large water catchers and large furnaces are always great luxuries to have, but many newer players don't tend to think about the possibility of someone being on top of them and gaining access to a higher floor of your base. As you can see here, the raider gets boosted up onto the water catcher and he can easily gain access to the 3rd floor of the base, get the loot, and run. This is also done with furnaces, as you can see here. Make sure you always keep them a safe distance away, that way someone can't boost on top of them and jump right into the 3rd floor of your base. Don't let all the hard-earned materials that you use to upgrade the bottom 2 floors go to waste. Keep your base safe by placing these deployable objects at a safe distance away. When constructing your loot room, you're going to want to always remember to section your loot. Don't just have one big open loot room. Have one loot room leading to multiple doors with shelves and boxes behind them. That way all of your loot is sectioned off, and if a raider does end up making it to the loot room, they're going to have to pop off each one of these doors. By the time they make it there, they're most likely not going to have the C4 to do that. So at the end of the raid, you might end up keeping some of your stuff. You also want to make sure you position your loot room on the right floor of the base. I would recommend at minimum having the loot room on the 3rd floor. The reason why I think the 3rd floor is because if you have it on the 2nd floor, all they have to do is rocket or C4 a wall on the 2nd floor and they can head jump into that story, being straight at your loot room. If it's on the 3rd floor, that's not going to happen. They're going to have to work a bit harder for it. You also want to make sure there's at least 2 floors above the loot room. That way, in the occasion where someone does raid tower onto the roof of your base, they're still going to have to go through 3 floors to get to the loot room, which is going to be 6 C4. In the final tip for this video, I would like to speak on sleeping bags. Personally, I put a sleeping bag on every single floor of my base. That way, when a raider is working their way from the bottom up and destroying the bags as they get to them, I will still have backup bags to spawn at to get right back into the fight. I see a lot of players using only one sleeping bag in their entire base, and once that sleeping bag is broken, they're completely out of the fight. There's nothing that they can do to try to defend their stuff. So having multiple backups is always great. Another smart thing to do is have a sleeping bag hidden outside the base in a bush or something with a small stash close by to where you can gear up, grab a water pipe or a pump shotgun, and try to sneak up behind the raiders. Follow in where they blew into your base and try to pop them all before they even realize you're there. A pump shotgun works really great for this. They'll never expect you to come from behind them, and they'll be so tunnel visioned ahead of them that you can possibly take them out and get some sweet loot. Anyways guys, for all of you newer players out there and maybe even some more experienced people, if you enjoyed this video or learned anything at all, please leave a like and a comment below. I know there's probably a million other things that I could have mentioned in here, but the tips that I did mention are very important, and the reason that I put them in this video is because they're the things that I see getting messed up the most. And honestly, if you guys like this video enough, I'll probably make a couple more parts to it. And once we have all the basic tips out of the way, I can start moving on to more advanced stuff. So if that's something that you would like to see, please let me know in the comments below. Maybe drop a few tips that you think should be in the next video. Other than that guys, that's basically it for this one. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.